everyone, Trian here, your leadership performance coach. I'm so excited to be back for another episode inside of our Be That Create That social channels. Today, I have, again, another wonderful interview with a woman from our community. And I always bring them on here so that they can introduce themselves, partially because I know the things that they want to focus on, making sure that they get to share with you. And I love to just talk about the way that they're making an impact and the things that they are passionate about and the way they are bringing and making a difference in the world. So without waiting any longer, I'm going to go ahead and bring Dr. Mya Fields to our stage. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we've had to reschedule a couple times. So as soon as I got on with her, I said, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful that you were able to do that. And I think you're going to be an excellent guest for our community, and they're going to learn a lot from you just based off of conversation we've already had. So why don't you go ahead and just take the opportunity to introduce yourself to the group, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Man, you're already setting the bar high. So I feel like I better deliver some gems today or I'm in trouble. As Trian said, my name is Dr. Mya Fields. I work as an assistant dean at a university. So several years of higher education experience through various sectors, from admissions, student life, spent a good bit of time as a career advisor, and now on the administrative side of things. So definitely had a very unique opportunity in being able to get a special view into the development of individuals, from, talking about their dreams and goals and what they hope to actually take their activities and put them, in one spot to actually flourish into something that they desire in the future. So that's probably one of the coolest things about working in higher ed, and one of the avenues that I've definitely been able to learn the most from.
I love that. I mean, I think, there's a lot of career coaches out there that talk about, where are you at? Where do you want to be type of thing. Yeah. But I think what's interesting is when we ask them at such a young age, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do every day? If time and money didn't matter, what would that look like? Right. I wish that when I was going through college, I would have had somebody who had that kind of passion into, hey, who are you? And how does that then fit into a career? Rather than trying to just say, this is a career you should probably go after.
Absolutely. And I think, as we get older and we have more experience, obviously, in our adult lives, we realize how a bit ridiculous it is to ask an 18-year-old, what do they want to be and what do they want to do for the rest of their life? And we expect them to have a logical answer. And, if you have a few students who change their major a couple times, it's like, oh, they're changing their major, they're flip-flopping. They're discovering new talents and skills and different possibilities out there that they had no idea about. So I just think I always find that kind of funny to ask a teenager, what do you want to do forever? And, sometimes I felt like in my adult life, I didn't even know. So,
it has morphed, right? For sure. I mean, yeah, because you look at that 18-year-old and you say, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And it's so daunting. And then I know a lot of students are worried about changing those majors, like you mentioned. Yeah. But what I try to get people to understand is it's not like any of your experiences, if you change career, change jobs, similarly, it's not like those experiences no longer exist.
Right.
Those have prepared you for what is next for you.
Absolutely. And I find a lot of people have a difficult time really in the career advising world. We call that transferable skills. Mm-hmm. I find a lot of times that people have a hard time of making the connections or validating the experiences they've had in previous avenues. If, a square doesn't fit into a square hole, or a circle has to fit into a circle. But a lot of times I think it just really takes some time to sit with your experiences and realize that even though titles are different, a lot of times you've been doing the same things. And, it's really cool, especially as we continue to go further and companies become more innovative, especially with these job titles. You'll see things like director of fun or experience manager or, what is it, people expert. And these are real kind of cool
I
and
love
catchy
it.
names, but you know, they're no longer like director of HR or customer service manager. And what that forces us to do when you hear director of fun, you don't think about, you know, maybe the person that's the customer service manager. But now, since you no longer have that like textbook job title anymore, you start to think about, well, what other experiences that I've had that kind of relate to this sector of, you know, customer service or whatever it is that fits under these new catchy job titles. So
Mhm.
while sometimes people can find that a bit frustrating, like what's the, you know, excitement manager or whatever it is. But you know, that's one of the cool things about it is it forces you to think outside of the box about some of the unique experiences that you've had and how valuable they are.
Well, and when you're sitting down and talking with a potential candidate about a job description as well, and you say, okay, so why did you apply for the director of excitement or the director of fun? It's be like, why would I not?
Right, exactly. It's the title.
So they can kind of co-create part of that job description, which I love. That's actually making me, so we, you know, are co-owners of a restaurant, and we have a team of about 45 to 50 depending on the time of year, and I've got 3 as part of my coaching team. And in that team, we definitely have an operations person, we have a people person, and we have the food person.
Mhm.
So how I can take those titles, like that's getting the wheels turning of how I can take those titles of those areas and kind of make them a little bit more fun.
Absolutely. There's all kind of cool names out there.
Yeah. So, how would you suggest for somebody to really start to look at the skill sets that they have as they're, you know, moving into a career shift? Because people are changing careers a lot faster now than they used to. It's no more of, I'm going to stick with this company for 30 years or even 10 years.
Absolutely. And I completely get that. When you look at the way that some organizations have to really just keep moving forward, regardless of the individuals that are working there, I can see why, you know, sometimes we have individuals who are going in positions or transitioning to positions that serve their life a little bit better. So, completely understandable. What I would say for individuals who are looking at their skills and trying to see like, hey, you know, what's going to make the most sense is really the first thing I'd say is don't downplay your skills.
Mm.
We have a habit, and when I say we, I'm thrown in that bucket too, especially women, of downplaying skills that we have. I was talking to a mom the other day in the pickup line for my son, and she was talking about, you know, how she's really good at following directions in organization, but she was saying like it's not a big deal, but you know, I can just follow directions. I'm like, that's a skill. I know you're saying it and you're laughing. I was like, but do you realize how many people don't necessarily know how to, or who just aren't good with following directions? And
Mhm.
that's not a dig to anyone. It's just we all have our different skill set. And exhibit a big part of baking is following directions. When you hear people all the time who can't bake a bundt cake, it's probably because they took a heap of flour instead of 1 cup. I.e., not following directions well. So you see how that is a skill. But I say that to say, you know, that was a very long way to say, don't downplay your skills. You know, there are things that you have the ability to do and that you're naturally gifted to do better than anyone else. So recognize what you are good at, make sure you're highlighting those things. And when you recognize what you're good at, spend your time sharpening those things.
Mhm.
Don't waste your time coveting or, you know, highlighting what someone else has and you spend your time trying to force yourself into a place you're not supposed to be. When you see individuals who are really shining and it just looks like, man, they're firing on all cylinders all the time, it's because they're operating in their gift. They're operating in the things that they are good at. And when you find yourself doing that, there's just more of a sense of ease for you. And
At
then
that
for
point, I want to be like, just can you please say that twice for the people in the back? operate in your gift, people,
Please.
and absorb it and love it and appreciate it. And yes, we can all learn new skills, and we can all definitely, it's continuous improvement. That's what leadership is. But we also have to stop for a second and acknowledge when we're good at something that contributes.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Completely agree. And I think for the people who are listening to us, and because believe it or not, I heard this a lot as a career advisor. I'm not good at anything. I don't have any gifts. Well, first let's stop there. You are, and you do. So let's debunk that. But I will say you owe it to yourself to sit with your thoughts, take some time for you, and figure out what are the things that you're excited about. Give yourself a real chance at a considerable evaluation. We're always running for everyone else, for our children, for our partners, for our jobs, or, for anyone else that, your volunteer organization. All of those things are great. We're not knocking them, but you owe it to yourself to figure out the things that you are good at, because when we highlight that, that's when we figure out where you're going to make your contribution to the world.
And even if we're not making a career move at that point, maybe we're just feeling like we're in a slump and we want to be better in the position that we're in, right? In our day-to-day description, we can even go, okay, so for right now, what am I excelling at? What am I really good at? How do I contribute? I think that once you start to build that confidence ball, then there's some momentum behind, okay, well, what else is there? What else could I do?
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be about a career shift or going after really the promotion or the next level, because there's something to be said for a level of contentment. But what I am saying is any living thing is supposed to be growing. We're living individuals. We should be growing to some extent all the time. So that doesn't necessarily have to be for a promotion. It could be growing the skills that you have to be a benefit in your community, be more of a benefit at your current position, or even branch out and find out how you can use those skills a little bit more if you're deciding you want to open your own side business on top of what you're currently doing. But what I do, the main thing I want to encourage you to do is highlight those skills and make sure that you're growing and developing them, because that's a lot. That's where you get a lot of your fulfillment from, is what I believe personally.
Yeah, I so appreciate that, because I think it doesn't always have to be about that next title or that next position. You're right. How do I feel where I'm at right now, contributing in the best way that I can? How could I continue to do that and maybe take on this side hustle? I think multiple streams of income is the future for families.
Yeah.
So definitely lots of different ways to do that. And you can still take those things that you're good at and excelling in your career, and maybe that helps you in some side hustles.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
So there's a lot of personal leadership and career moves. There's a lot of we talk about creating a leadership lifestyle in this community quite a lot. So share with me maybe, what has leadership meant for you, and how has that gotten you to where you're at right now?
I think leadership, when you kind of sift it all down to one of the most fundamental levels, is influence. And I like to start with influence because I wholeheartedly believe that we are all leading in some capacity somewhere. And so when you shave that back to just influence, think about the individuals that you are influencing in your life. Again, is it your children, your partner, your, people in your volunteer organization, the people that are in your mom groups, whatever it is, you'll find yourself influencing individuals around you all the time. And it can be subtle things like right now, because it's fall, is a highlight for me. I am all about pumpkin spice right now. So I found some really cool, yes, I'm that person. I found some really cool pumpkin spice latte body wash and deodorant. And I know you're like, well, why is she talking about this? Let me tell you why. Because I was really excited about this. So I posted on my social media. If you are like me and you want to smell like this fall goodness, look at what I found. A few people decided to go try it. I know, like you're thinking, oh, that's very small. But if we have to simmer these things down a bit, sometimes they're not as complex. On a very basic level, that's influence. I let
Mhm.
some people know about a cool pumpkin spice latte body wash that I was excited about. They didn't know about. I posted about how much I liked it, and they decided to go and buy it too. So think about small examples like that in your life and then build from there. And, like I said, again, I completely believe that we are all influencing and leading in some capacity in our lives, whether it's big or small, it all matters.
I love that. I almost feel like we're kindred spirits at this point. I always feel like the most perfect people come into our group to share the best information for the people that are our community, exactly what they need to hear at the time that they hear it. So thank you so much for that. Um,
Absolutely.
in the community, we also talk a lot about morning routine. Now, I understand not everybody is a morning person.
Mhm.
However, there probably is something. You're very successful. So there is something throughout your day that's a non-negotiable that's helped you get to the level of success of where you're at right now. So what would be one or two things that you feel like have contributed to that you do on a regular basis?
Something that I do every day, and I know it's probably kind of like the Stone Ages, but I still use a paper planner. I know, paper planner in the digital age. Relax, everybody. But I really enjoy it because I get to write down everything that I need to do. It's clearly there. And something for me is, when I have a ton of stuff to get done every day and it's not written down, I'll spend half of my day thinking about the stuff on the list and trying to remember what it was. Go ahead and get myself organized, put everything on my list, and I can check it off and make sure that I have accomplished everything that I needed to get done that day. What I also can do is I have a carryover that I can look at. If I go back to Tuesday and I realize, oh, there's something I forgot on Tuesday I didn't get to on Wednesday, put it at the top of the list. I'm making sure that I'm getting those things accomplished and I'm not just leaving all those things that I'm responsible for out there in the balance. So that's definitely a non-negotiable for me. I would like to say that every morning I start off, with this really great, seamless routine, but that's not the case. My children are small. They are, well, I have a new 5-year-old. I was about to say 4, but he would correct me. He turned 5 on Sunday. Um, and so, really small sidebar, he walks into school and his teacher's like, hey, how are you doing? He says, I'm 5. So that's how he's doing. But I have a 5 and a 6-year-old. So anyone who's listening with small children knows that it can be a bit chaotic. But um, on the days when things are going the best, I like to start off with reading my devotionals and making sure I take that time to just kind of, I'm growing, I'm thinking about things. I'm holding myself accountable and that time is also set to really help me figure out areas that I want to grow in more. So I like taking that time to be able to do that. Like I said, ideally, I'd hope it happens in the morning. Sometimes it doesn't, but I still find a way to just fit it in sometime during the day. So
Yeah, I went through a time frame where the morning routine is really important for me, but I went through a time frame where if I didn't get it just right, then I would feel like, oh, I didn't either live up to what I expected for myself or I just wasn't going to be set up for the day or what have you. And a lot of times it will be because the kids changed your routine up a little bit.
yeah,
And I really started to go, but wait, my children are my priority, right? And I know that I'm going to be able to work this out and fit it someplace else in my day. But right now, Blake has woken up and she would like a hug from me. So I am going to spend 15 minutes with my child that I swear smelled me walking past her bedroom, because that's what she needs right now.
yeah,
So I love that you say, you know what, I'll fit it in at another time throughout the day, because I do think it's so important leadership wise for us to give ourselves a little grace.
yeah,
Everything can't be so static all the time. Routines are important, yes, but also being able to be flexible.
absolutely. Completely agree with that.
because stuff is going to happen. And we
For
can either
sure.
react or respond to that stuff. So
That is so true. Completely
yeah.
on board with it.
So tell us a little bit about the Hey Hannah podcast.
So Hannah is my daughter, who passed away in 2022. And so the platform was created, as just a space that I'm having conversation on there with all different individuals about things that I thought I would have the opportunity to talk about with her. Unfortunately, due to tragic events, that did not happen, but I love that I have the opportunity to still honor her memory and make my small contribution to the world with, the things that I discuss on the platform.
That's awesome. I'll make sure I get a link for that in the show notes as well, so that people can check that out for you. That's a beautiful way to remember, and a beautiful way to make an impact on those that either are going through a similar situation, or just to hear that story, to give them some empathy for someone else who has been through something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know when Hannah first passed, I felt like I could not find anyone. And I know they're there, but it's just, kind of how you feel when you're in a really tragic situation. I feel like I couldn't find anyone who had lived through this, who was kind of like on the other side. And so, you know, as anyone knows with grief, it's like an ongoing thing. You're never like, oh, I've arrived, I'm done grieving. No, you're at all kinds of new spots all the time. But what I do feel like is, even, when I don't want to like get in that space of, talking about, what happened to Hannah or what it is, I feel like I hope that I'm still able to encourage someone else to see like, hey, I may have been through something similar, and I see her, she has two. She's smiling. She looks like, she's doing okay today. I hope that I get to that place too. Because that was really something I was looking for. So I just hope even being able to name the podcast after her and identifying as an individual who's dealt with infant loss, that I can encourage someone else who's in that spot.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that. I'm going to have to check that out. Yes, to support the best I can. And again, someone who hasn't been through that situation, it provides, a feeling of empathy and peace for someone else who is. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that our community is going to be seeing a lot more of you. So thank you guys for joining us today. You'll be able to find Dr. Mya Fields in the show notes. I'm going to put all of the links to be able to connect with her, and also in our Female Leader Headquarters community over on the Facebook as well. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.